So, what this is an event to celebrate and highlight this book right here. And you're going to see these books over on the table. And this book combines creativity, vulnerability, and a whole lot of heart. So, my name is Samantha Morgan. I'm going to be the moderator for this panel today. The people you're seeing on the stage here are the artists who have participated in this and contributed to this book. During this discussion, we're going to talk about what lettering is. And again, we're going to invite you to sit down at the table, look at the artwork, and letter on the table whatever you're feeling or thinking as it's happening. So it's a very interactive moment. So to get this whole thing kicked off, let's go ahead and meet our panel. I feel so far away from you guys. I'm so far away here. I'm going to turn this way a little bit. Hello, panel.
Hello.
Right. So let's start with the brilliant mind behind the book itself, Jenn Lee Hester. Can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, I'm Jenn Hester. I curated the book. I'm a local artist here, and I have two boys. I'm a mom, so I stay busy.
All right. Next up, we have Marcus Soniat.
Hello, hello.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, you said it
Y'all, I said it right.
Congrats,
I've been
congrats.
stressing over that all
The
day.
1%.
All right. Okay. So Marcus, tell everybody who you are.
Yeah, my name is Marcus Soniat, and I'm a new dad. He's right over there, and
Give it up for our dads.
mom is Holden. And I run a creative practice where I do lettering, type design, and branding.
And next up is Ellen Ogden. Ellen, introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, I'm Ellen Ogden. I go under the moniker LO Artist on social media, and I am a muralist. I specialize in hand-painted elements, all from branding, working with designers, to designing and curating and researching, tying things to culture, ecology, all kinds of things.
All right. And next up is Tyronecia Moore. Introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Tyronecia Moore. I am the owner of House of Sansby, which is a curated rental shop, but I also illustrate and write. Yeah, I'm back in Baton Rouge. I'm from here, but I moved to New Orleans for a few years, and now I'm back, so happy to be home.
All right. And last but not least, Alison Spengler. Can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Hey, my name is Allison. I'm a graphic designer and illustrator. My medium is digital, and I've been in Baton Rouge since about 2020. And I'm a single mom and artist here, just getting my foot in the door into the art community finally.
Awesome. All right. So this book is not only about art, but it is about mental health, and that's going to be a big topic for today's discussion. But before we get into that, since y'all are asked to do a little bit of this work on the table yourself, let's define what lettering is, and maybe each of you, if you could tell me what lettering means to you.
Yeah, I think lettering, I was talking to Marcus about this, a very basic definition of lettering is just drawing out letter forms. Like you see it everywhere. Like if you go to Barnes and Noble, you see it on like book covers and posters and branding and logos. So yeah, that's what lettering is to me. A very basic definition.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I would say like lettering is just giving letter forms personality, or bringing out personality within the letter forms. So yeah, I would just say that.
To skip ahead a little bit, I do want to jump into what this experience has been for each of you. If you have a chance to flip through and see what each of them said in this, that would be wonderful. But really, I think the most important part of this book is the mental health component. So each one of the artists contributed a special story and then explained how they deal with something that's challenging for them. So Jen, I want to start by asking you why you decided to go with that theme.
I have a rough past, and I wanted to give people hope. So my piece is I let past mistakes define me, and I wanted to give people hope that they have a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance, and that
even though they've made a ton of mistakes that they might be ashamed of, that they have hope. So that's the basic gist of my piece. I just wanted to give people encouragement, you know.
Absolutely. So Tyronecia, I was curious. Jen has asked people, gone to up to 12 total artists?
10.
10 artists, and asked them to reveal something deep and personal, and not only deep and personal, but then put it on display for everyone else to see. So what was that like for you as the artist being asked that question?
First off, I was taken by surprise that she reached out and asked me in general. But I will say it was a little bit easier than it may seem because I was already writing about how I felt. Using Instagram as a vehicle, it was called Hoping This Heals You. So I was taking things that I was sort of experiencing in my life and sort of making them digestible for other people. So if I was anxious or if I was feeling just sort of isolated, I would use that as a moment to process it and put it into words. So when she reached out and was asking about an insecurity that I was dealing with at the time, I chose. I'm too concerned about the perception of others, which is I didn't realize how common it was for other people.
Yes.
But I mean, even now, I'm in a social space, public space, speaking to people. It's not the easiest, but I'm doing it. But I knew that I needed to write about that because it's something that I had been sort of dealing with most of my childhood, most of my adulthood, is just being too concerned about other people's thoughts and opinions. And I knew that I always had a strong voice, at least in regards to art. But I was always hiding myself because I was afraid of being criticized or afraid of being judged. And so I knew that Jen had created or was creating a safe space for us to be able to work through that. And I was like, why not take a leap and just process that in real time? You know, like that's the only way you get through things is by dealing with them. And so this is a big deal for me to be speaking in front of y'all. Like, you know, it's a really big deal because I get anxious, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can feel a certain type of way about yourself, like when you're around family and friends, but to be around people who don't know you and share what you see as weaknesses in front of other people is hard.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm learning that vulnerability is a strength. You know, so that's what it was for me. It was like it was a moment for me to take my weakness and turn it into a strength.
God, that's a lesson we all need to take home with us today, I think. Jen, so on the flip side, you have to ask people to do this. So that's kind of a big ask. How did you go about that, and what did you tell people to get them to take these big leaps?
I think I didn't want to do it by myself because I wanted different perspectives and different backgrounds, you know, so it had to be a collaboration project. So it was a little nerve-wracking, like asking people and finding enough people to like make a collection and a book, but everybody was on board. Like people were excited about it and people weren't like hesitant or, you know, there was a few people that couldn't do it, but I feel like everybody that's in the book was excited to do it. So it was actually kind of easy to ask them.
That's amazing. I mean, I think that goes to say a lot about how mental health has been a lot more prioritized than it's ever been, and definitely a lot less stigmatized than it's ever been. Marcus, you talk a lot about dealing with depression in your segment. Can you talk a little bit about what exactly you deal with and why the how I deal with it section was so important?
Yeah, in my book, or in the book, my piece, talk a little bit about how I was struggling with depression and in various ways. And for me, you know, I just really thought it was really important to bring that up because anytime somebody talks about depression, I think you can never have enough awareness around it. because it kind of plagues people in really random spots in life. So I wouldn't be surprised if most of the people even listening here have been touched by depression in some way, shape, or form. So I think speaking on depression is really important when you can do it. So it was really important part of my journey. And for me, I really want to provide hope for creatives or just people in general. And my story just I feel like it starts on the intersection of my lowest moments, i.e. depression, and then me finding hope through faith. So I really wanted to make a piece about that and kind of even visually reflect in the book, like just the lettering piece, the sort of the angst or the dirtiness that I felt like I was going through, or just anxiety that I was feeling. I kind of want to find a way to visually represent that.
Yeah. I'm actually going to jump in on that because I overheard you say that that's not even your style. That's not your typical workspace and
that was probably
identity.
my first time doing like punk, heavy metal type lettering. What I'm saying?
Describe it for people who haven't seen it.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to a Screamo show, which I'm sure everybody in here has gone to a Screamo show, it's going to be on their shirts, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of lettering that they're rocking with. So.
You can definitely see the
If you can see that, there it is. Yeah. So what would you characterize your style as typically?
I would probably say I lean more on the loose, rough letter forms, just even outside the lettering, I just really like to be really loose and not to take my visuals too seriously, but also find a balance where like I can still show some technical expertise even in the loose and roughness. So I kind of like to be fun with it, but there's a side of me that likes to really drill deep and learn kind of like deep cut techniques. So try to find a mix between those two.
I love that. And in the How I Deal section, you had some very specific things that you do to deal. Can you talk about those?
Okay, so that one song, sorry.
The How I Deal section.
Oh, yeah.
You had some specific things that you mentioned that you do to deal with depression. What
Yeah.
are those things? Can you share those with us?
Yeah, I would probably say the biggest thing for depression, at least in my experience, like is isolation. Is like probably if you can be isolated, or if I can be isolated, that's like a quick recipe for me to get depressed, anxiety, insecurity is like, it's a great place for it to fester. So I feel like, community will probably be the biggest thing. The biggest way for me to deal with depression is like surrounding myself with people that I know love me and that they provide a safe place for me to be vulnerable and share some of those harder parts of myself that I don't even feel comfortable, looking at it. I don't feel comfortable acknowledging that in myself. And I might need a brother that says, man, I love you even though, this part of yourself looks hideous, I love you still, you know what I'm saying? So I think surrounding myself with people like that, like it's by and large how I deal with a lot of it,
Yeah, absolutely. So that same inner voice that gives you that depressed kind of feeling, I think is the same inner voice that is our creative voice sometimes.
Yeah.
And Ellen, you really talked about the creative voice, the inner voice inside. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
Yeah, I work with clients to create work a lot, so I'm always balancing listening and really diving into the passions of others. And sometimes, like anything, not just creative endeavors, your life gets wrapped up in doing a hustle or a busyness or getting through things, and you forget what's the spark behind this thing, what's the reason I'm creating this thing or moving through. Maybe I'm supporting my family, maybe I'm here for a reason. I have to go back to that. And so cultivating my voice in the hustle and bustle can be a struggle sometimes. And so coming back to finding things that engage my mind, my body, and everything are some tactics that I use to remember what the voice is. For me, voice is less about style, because I think that can be limiting when you conceive of this label of I am this type of person or artist. Voice is more about coming back to what invigorates action. So even if it's not a creative endeavor, it's something that gets you moving or gets you connecting to others in community or gets you excited to get up and go and maybe out of that, the hole that can come from isolation or a lack of resonance within you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And while we're talking, if at the table any of these words are resonating with you or making you think about a certain thing, just write the words down. Just write what you're hearing that is connecting with you. Allison, I wanted to ask you, in your description, you said that you're probably in the best place you've ever been in your life. So kudos, awesome. Tell us how you got to that place, because you said it wasn't always that way.
Yeah, it's my mental health journey has been since I was very young, and obviously, you know, that journey ebbs and flows, and getting to this place, you know, a lot of things in my life just kind of came together. Being a single mom, you know, my daughter just got a little older, which helps, but I also, you know, I actively go to therapy, and I am doing specialized therapy that helps, like Ellen said, like that inner voice, just like really cultivating a very positive and a voice that isn't mean to myself. Because I think a lot of time as artists as well, we have an inner voice that is creative, but it's also very, very hard on ourselves. And for me, it's really, I've gotten to this place, and I'm still getting to this place of being even happier and more fulfilled and artistically, you know, invigorated. That has been like years in the making, and it's about also, you know, things coming down in your life that, you know, fit together, but also actively for yourself, taking steps and actions to really better your mental health and that voice, and connecting with other people that cultivate the positive of who you are, and like really hold up that mirror. So it's yeah, I think like mental health is a journey, like I said, and from here I'm hoping that I will discover, I guess, happiness and other people in life that will make me discover happiness and better mental health than I've ever had, and yeah.
I love that. Let's talk about that judgmental voice, okay? Because I picked up on what you were saying there, and I think a lot of people started nodding their head along with it. And there's a lot of themes in the book that talk about imposter syndrome or feeling like all eyes are on you. So anyone want to jump in and add to that? What is that judgmental voice inside telling you all the time?
I feel like I have been really mean to myself like my whole life. And I'm 37 now, and I feel like just in the past few years I've gotten to a place where I've been able to like stop the train, is what it kind of feels like, and talk to myself like kindly and actually like be a friend to myself, which is what I talk about in my piece. But it's taken me like 30 plus years
Yeah.
to untangle all these things, and I've seen the positive benefits of doing that to myself. So I hope I can keep going.
Yeah. We are the meanest to ourselves, aren't we?
So mean.
I mean, there's no mean girl worse than this one.
No.
Right? To myself.
Yeah.
So how do we take our art, our love for art and creativity, and use that as part of the therapeutic fuel when it is that thing that also you kind of feel judged by? How do you deal with that? Anyone want to tackle that, Ellen?
Sure, I can tackle that. I just started doing The Artist Way again. If nobody's familiar, it's a decades-old book that gets you journaling, and it's just a way to brain dump, write 3 pages without judgment or thinking. And sometimes that's really hard because you have all of these constricted things that you feel you should profess or I like language, so I get really critical of how I'm writing things, and it forces you to stop doing that, and then a flood of something is generative. And so it's about getting from out of a place of fear and into a lens of love, kind of. And I don't think those things can exist at the same time. So
I forgot Artist Way. That's definitely add that
I
in
have that
for
book.
artist.
I have not read it, but
let's do it together.
I'm not qualified to be up here with these ladies. They're
My
too
God.
wise.
Oh, you are the odd man out, aren't you? What is in a, I don't want to say a female dominant, but I mean, when you're surrounded by women, do you have a harder time as a man expressing yourself sometimes? Oh no, I'll just hit you with a deep one. When you're surrounded by a group of very in touch with their emotions women, is it as difficult as a man to express yourself the same way?
Not for me personally,
Yeah.
because I mean, I think, I really want men to feel comfortable to express their emotions, and I've been on that tip for a while. So like, I think I feel right at home with people, gender aside. I feel comfortable with people who want to express how they're feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Be vulnerable. I think that's the kind of tip I'm on. So, doesn't matter who they are. I mean, I invite everybody to kind of be on that tip with me. So
Yeah.
I feel right at home with with the ladies up here on
I'm going to hit
vulnerability.
you with another man question real quick, but do you feel like that is a gendered stereotype that exists, that men have a harder time expressing their emotions or talking about emotions?
I mean, I guess this very complex. I would say, I think I feel for a lot of dudes because it's not like there's a lot of safe places for us to really cry,
Yeah.
for being straight up or to be weak. You know what I'm saying? It kind of feels like whether it's outright said or taught or implied, it feels like we have to be strong for ourselves and for others a lot of times, so we don't really get the privilege to be weak as often, it feels like, or be, and when I say weak, I mean vulnerable. It doesn't really feel like we have a lot of spaces. That's my own observation, but I really feel like there's a lot of space for men to examine their emotions, their thoughts, and if I'm being honest, I think that makes you just a better human. You know what I'm saying? Makes you more equipped to live life with the people that you love. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a complicated question as far as like, is it a stereotype or, you know what I'm saying? I would encourage all men to be more open. I think that's a valid challenge, but I also would encourage maybe women and just anybody to create more space for people to express their emotions, even men.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, can I add on to that?
Please
Yes.
do come on time about to bring that. Let's go.
No, because I think that is the bigger issue. It's not a gender thing. It's not a race thing. It's people don't know how to be kind, or don't know how to show compassion. So it makes it harder for people to express themselves, which makes it harder for them to express themselves. And so I think once people get a grasp and understanding of that as the basis and the foundation, like kindness and compassion, then we'll be able to get to the empathy, sympathy, or like the pity, all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
I love that. Are we missing compassion? Have we lost compassion?
I don't think a lot of people know what it is.
Tell us what it means to you.
It's just an understanding of people without judgment, without perceptions. It's just seeing somebody for who they are and deciding whether or not you want to accept it. That's what I see compassion is. It's a seeing like I'm looking at you, you looking at me, and I'm creating space for you to share yourself with me. That's compassion.
I would even just to add on to that too, like I remember just learning like early on in my in the journey that I kind of articulate in the book. I remember somebody defining or like kind of breaking down like just I forget what the actual word is, like the actual like breaking down what um, the Latin and stuff or whatever from for what compassion means, like to suffer with. And I don't know, that's always kind of colored like how maybe like I think about compassion sometimes. Like, am I willing to suffer with this person? And I feel like that just takes a lot of energy, and like I feel like it's hard to know what it looks like because it's hard to do. And like I don't think we have like a lot of role models of people who are willing to suffer with one another for a long amount of time through a problem that they might not even understand. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't think we see it a lot.
Yeah, it was mentioned in the book. I can't remember who mentioned it, but social media came up a couple times. I know it with judgmental eyes definitely came up in this. And you would think that social media might make us more compassionate, make us more empathetic because we can kind of see behind the veil sometimes. But it also feels like maybe it's making us less compassionate. What do you guys think? Anyone want to jump on that? Light topic. Go ahead, Alice.
It's really hard because I know most of the people here are my age older, so we grew up with like the internet, kind of the .com boom, and I've recently, deleted a lot of apps, and mentally, I just feel so much happier, so much freer, so much more invigorated. I think artistically, there are, pockets of really cool, visionary people on the internet that you can instantly get inspiration from. I think that's a positive aspect, but I think overall, we, as human beings, when it comes to social media, are just inundated so much with really micro trends and just things that come and go so quickly that are so detrimental and damaging to our own mental health and our own image and our own inner voice, especially as artists. That I think, so like the instantaneousness nowadays it's a screen. If we sat down with one another and really just talked face to face and really listened, it's a lot different than hearing somebody's opinion or somebody's thoughts online, right? Because you don't have to face that physical aspect of connecting with somebody.
Yeah. When you were saying that, what it made me imagine, I guess my creativity brain is kicking pretty hard with this assignment, but it made me imagine little bee stings, right? You said that you have these little micro moments of toxicity, and I was thinking about little bee stings of toxicity. And you get these just constantly throughout the day, these little bee stings. Well, if you get enough bee stings, you're going to go into shock, right? So maybe that's what we're kind of dealing with a little bit on our digital paths. But that's complicated for all of you because you need social media as artists for your business. So how do you deal with that?
I try to put time limits on mine, but I'm not good at it.
Yeah. None of us are, I imagine.
But it is so toxic for artists. I feel like you see people's final projects and you don't see the process. You're constantly judging yourself, and then you see stuff, and then you're like, oh, I could do that, or I could make that, or I could make something like that, and then you don't. You get kind of high off of the ideas online.
Yeah.
And statistically, it's been proven that it's super unhealthy. So it does not allow us to be more compassionate to people.
Yo, can I add to the?
Please, jump in.
I'm sure there's nuance. There's nuance to a lot of topics, but I'm gonna just say it. I don't think creatives need social media.
What'd you say?
Flat out.
Wait, you don't think what?
I don't think from a creative, if you want to be successful as a creative, you do not need social media.
You heard it here, folks.
You
You
don't.
just need a website.
I don't think you even need a website.
Uh-oh.
I think it's a good idea. I think a website's a good idea. but I think you need to learn how to make relationships.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Build
Like,
on that a little bit more.
so like, I know for me personally, I mean, I'm doing social media just like as a fun, like it's fun for me, like, and I'm not really trying to do it like to promote my business. But I think earlier this year I kind of made a decision. Really, when I started going full-time freelance, I was like, I don't really want social media to be a part of my success um, journey or whatever. Like, I think people were designers, artists before social media. What did they do? They made relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like they focus on the people that were around them. And I feel like as the world is getting so like distant, like as far as like information goes, like I don't really know if I'm supposed to know what's happening across the world. I don't know if my brain can take that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I think it's helpful to like be informed, but at the same time, like, part of me is asking myself, like, am I forgetting the people that are in my own city? You know what I'm saying? At the price of knowing what's going on the next state over, or you know, the other black dude that died like on the other part of the country, like at some point, because that stuff like terrorizes my brain. It's just like, man, I need to kind of scale down a little bit and focus on the harsh. There's enough hardship and enough opportunity and whatnot going on in my own city. I'm gonna just start there. And honestly, I feel like my business is like growing because of that. So
That's incredible.
I was just telling him, like, I've been doing markets more this year, and that has been the coolest, best networking for me because I've actually been able to talk with people and meet the community and tell them my story. They can tell me their story, and it's just like I've found and realized that, you know, that's been the best networking. You know,
Yeah. In fact, let's give it up for Perkins Rowe for putting on today's
yeah,
event.
this is dope.
Yes, these are the events that really help creatives get their work out in front of people, and so they're very important to the community. So thank you so much for Perkins Rowe putting on this awesome event every year. And I think we're kind of getting towards the end of our panel here, so there are a couple things I wanted to address before we go. Jen, I know you're planning on doing this again. Can you tell us what Letter It Out 2.0 will be like?
yeah, there's going to be a volume 2 coming out in May. So I'm going to do a call out to new artists to be in the book. It's going to be next May for Mental Health Awareness Month. And I'll do the call out in November. So there'll be a form. I'll post on my Instagram and it'll link to my website. Or you can just go to my website, Jenn Lee Creates with 2 N's. And yeah, so we're excited about that. People are excited about it. There's a few artists that want to be in it. So yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to see all of the artists in this book and bring a copy of it home, I encourage you to do so because every single penny of the proceeds is going to benefit Forum 225's Community Pantry in North Baton Rouge. Every single penny, which is incredibly generous of you to do that because this is intense work here, putting all this together. So thank you for doing that. And I believe you said you're going to maybe do something different next year. So if you have a suggestion on an organization who might benefit from this as well, let Jen know about that. And I do want to give one opportunity to open it up to those of you here. If anyone has a question they want to jump in and ask our panel before we close out today. Yes, ma'am. Where can we find your book in the wild?
Yeah. You can order books from JennLeeCreates.com. That's 2 N's. You can find them at the Hope Shop, Red Stick Reads, Local Supply in Electric Depot, and Cavalier House Books in Denham.
Fantastic. And to close out, one last question for each of you today, and that is if you could add one more thing to your submission, something that you left out, something you thought about after the book came out, what would it be? So let's start with you, Jen.
I saw something that New Happy Code just posted. It's an account. They post like positive things, but they just put healing from your past takes time, self-compassion, and support. And there was something else, but I don't remember it. But I was just like, God, time and like self-compassion have been so like crucial because it's been a 15-year healing process, and I still struggle with things.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I'm just now learning how to be nice to myself. So the self-compassion thing is just huge. So yeah.
Definitely.
I feel like I might have said everything that was on my brain because I was like stressing about it when Jen asked me. But if I had to say anything again or like change something or whatever, I'll probably just stress the point that whoever's reading it is infinitely valuable and they don't have to find their worth in what they do.
Yes. Love that.
Good job. Yeah, I think similarly, like this was a tough exercise to focus on myself. And so the thing that I was compelled to do is keep saying like, yeah, but you're an antenna too, or like your voice is cultivated through sparks. And so it would be something along the lines of like, look for some things that make you interested to move, to do, to make, and try and nail that in every day some way. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So with mine being about being concerned about the perception of others, I would tell myself to just focus on how I see myself, because that's ultimately what matters the most. That's what's going to carry me through this world, like my opinions of myself. So I would just focus on that.
Love that.
In the book for my illustration, I kind of personify my mental health and like, personify it as a person. And I would add now that in that passage I say like, you have to like build the confidence to like shut the door and like set boundaries. But I think now with my mental health journey, that personification, instead of, shutting the door and slamming the door and being like, you can't come in, I have boundaries. I think now for me, it's allowing that person to come in and sit down with them and sit in the uncomfortable, but not allow, that personification of my mental health to rule me, to really sit in the same room as it. And I think that's what I would add, and obviously that will change months from now as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you all so much for participating in this today. I hope this was helpful to everyone to have a little
Thanks for
bit
having
of a perspective outside of themselves today, and to think about really that art is a form of therapy, and it doesn't have to be something very complicated. It could be just lettering it out, right? And afterwards today, I think y'all are going to stick around for a little bit, maybe sign some copies. I'd like my copy signed. I don't know about you guys. So we'll stick around for a little bit after the panel, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.